Good morning. I am Mario Gangemi, the chair of the MDTA Capital Committee and conducting this morning's meeting, and I call our meeting to order at 9 a.m. In accordance with the live streaming law, this meeting is held via video conference and live streamed on the MDTA Capital Committee page. As a reminder, all members of the Capital Committee will have their video active during the entirety of the meeting. I do point out that member Enzer is having technical difficulties and is on here by telephone. To minimize background noise, I do ask that everyone on the line mute your phones, unless of course you're presenting, and then we're going to want you to have both your video on and your audio on while speaking. And then when done, please turn off the video and put your audio on mute. Unless of course you're one of our members of the board. There are no members of the public, no elected officials, no media that have pre-registered to comment, so we can now move on to agenda item number 1, which is approval of open session meeting minutes of September 1st, 2022. So I will entertain a motion.
So moved, Member Cox.
So moved by Member Cox.
I'll second it.
Second by Member Gaines. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that was all of us. So we can now move on to BB item number 2, which is BB 3017, the eastbound Bay Bridge deck replacement, phase 1, package 1. As soon as I get to that, oh, there he is. Well, go ahead and good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Capital Committee and others. For the record, my name is Takesta Amara, Deputy Director of Engineering. This morning, I'll present contract BB 3017-0000, seeking approval of the Capital Committee to present at the board. The work included as part of BB 3017-0000 is performed at the eastbound Bay Bridge. The eastbound existing deck is 70 years old, and the last time it was replaced was in the 1970s and 1980s. So at this point, it exhibits extensive deterioration, and the deck requires major rehabilitation to remain safe and extend the service life of the bridge. The scope of the work in this construction services package is part of the CMAR contract, which is Construction Management at Risk, which was previously awarded in July of 2021. This phase 1 includes deck replacement and widening of the deck truss spans T14 to T22, utility relocations in spans T1 to T10, S1S to S3, and T1 to T14 to T22, and also includes off-site stormwater management work. A total of 1.25 million in allowance items is included in this construction package. Previously, MDTA issued a request for proposals, RFP, to provide the services of a qualified contractor for a CMAR contract to be procured using the competitive seal proposals procurement method. Just to say a few words about CMAR, CMAR is a contract method that involves the contractor in the design, or what we call a pre-construction phase. And also, if awarded, it will be continuing to do construction services phase. So previously, a contractor was awarded the pre-construction services phase, in which the contractor is part of the design team and works with our consultant designers, MDTA Engineering, and also MDTA Construction to perform the design, to help us with the design. So following the submission of RFP proposals from 5 different contractors, the proposal that was offered by Corman McLean joint venture, which is now called Cocosing McLean joint venture was to their proposal was determined to be the most advantageous to the state. And it was awarded the pre-construction services contract, and they have been working with us with the construction, with the consultant designers and MDTA engineering to provide input on the design of the deck replacement work. So upon the substantial completion of the design, final plans and IFB were provided to the contractor, and also the independent cost estimator that we hired to help us with an estimate. And what we call a GMP was submitted to us, a guaranteed maximum price, in which the contractor provides a price for which they will conduct the construction work. At the same time, the independent cost estimator provided an independent estimate of the same work, so that we can compare the two and determine that we're receiving good prices. Just a note here, the independent cost estimators were experienced contractors, which has done a work which is similar in scope and complexity and size. So those estimates involve determination of the type of equipment, heavy equipment needed, marine equipment needed, and also the durations and things like that. So having that independent cost estimator was really helpful, besides using just consultant design engineers. So the engineer's estimate, which was developed by the independent cost estimator for this contract, was about $150 million. The GMP, the guaranteed maximum price submitted by Kokosi McLean JV, was in the amount of $139,992,492, $139,992,490. So today we're recommending award of approval of this contract to Kokosi McLean JV. So MDTA did a detailed comparison between the GMP provided by the contractor against the independent cost estimator, and we found out that the GMP provided was 7% less than the independent cost estimate. The MBE goal for this project is 14% with no sub-goals, and a VSPE goal of 1% is determined, approved by our Office of Civil Rights and Fair Practice. Kokosi McLean JV has submitted a plan to exceed this goal by 14.02% and also provide 2% VSPE. The two partners in the KMJV, which is Kokosi McLean joint venture, have a long history of working in Maryland and also for MDTA. Jointly, both companies have positive performance in the ongoing construction of the new nice Middleton Bridge, currently being performed. Recent projects, other projects done individually include the Bay Bridge staging dock construction by Corman McLean Construction, Kokosi, and the I-895 over Patapsco Flats, which was a superstructure replacement, which was done by McLean Contracting Company. So we are anticipating to issue NTP following approval by the board, of course, in November of this year, and the contract duration is 790 days. With that, we're seeking. I'm sorry.
Meeting.
Thanks, Takeste. Appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions of Takeste?
Yeah, Kokosi bought out Corman recently. Is that what's happened?
Yes.
Now, did they have a lot of experience in marine construction? Because aren't they in the Midwest? In the Midwest?
Yeah. When we received the proposals, the technical proposals, one of their big strengths were their experience with marine construction. So they own really very large cranes, and they have experience working on this type of work. And that was actually, technically, they were really the strongest of all the other contractors, and that was part of the reason they were selected.
Thank you.
Is this job going to be done, I mean, to avoid like the summer traffic? I guess it is, isn't it?
Has to, right?
What's the plan there?
This project includes you know, a couple of different types of work. One of the major work, of course, is the deck replacement.
Right.
And before we do that, though, we have to remove some of it, relocate some of the utility on the bridge to be, you know, to give way to that. So initially, the utility relocation will be the more active work, and then in around fall, after the summer season, is when we will be working on the deck and the deck replacement. And a big thing here, which makes this different from the westbound deck rehabilitation, is the fact that we're using only nighttime bridge closures for the deck replacement work. So the contractor provided a really good breakdown of how long it's going to take them to take out a deck panel and put a new one on the bridge in the night shift. So the major work's going to be done, you know, in the off-peak period, and not, you know, in summer we may have some, but it's during the nighttime closure, so it will not affect travelers.
Hopefully not. Yeah. What utilities are on the bridge?
Utilities, there are fiber optics utilities for communication use. There's also power, electric power cables on the bridge, which are attached to, you know, the barrier, and we'll move them, you know, away from
the new deck
deck.
structure is going to interfere with them, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's what
It's going to be
we're
thicker.
trying to do. Yeah. Take them
Are
away
they in the
from
concrete? Are they in the concrete? They're not in the concrete.
in some locations they are in the barrier, in the concrete, so they will be taken out of that and then moved to the catwalk.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions, or is there a motion to?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, Member Cox.
I'll second.
Member Gaines seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that was everybody. So thank you very much. Now we can move on to item 3, which is conveyance of the heat center, which is MC number 22-7046. And John, you are on.
Good morning, members. My name is John Wedemeyer. I'm the manager for MDTA's Real Estate Services team. Today I have 2 items on the agenda. The first one is the heat center, conveyance of the heat center to a portion to Harford County, as well as a portion to the city of Aberdeen. In 2014, we leased the parking lot that is currently on this remainder of the heat center to Harford County to manage the parking area for maintenance and operations. In 2001, there was an agreement between MDTA and the city of Aberdeen to convey a portion of that site to the city for a new water tower that's being constructed to supply water to future development at the heat center property. We are seeking your approval today, and then of course the approval of the full authority board at the next meeting to convey these 2 parcels to the city of Aberdeen and Harford County for no consideration. And we seek your approval. Thank you.
I have a question,
Bill?
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
John, have they already started on the water tower?
They've started doing the design and engineering. We gave them a right of entry.
They haven't started construction yet?
No, they have not. They need to get the fee simple ownership before they can do the capital expenditures.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, you're calling the property the heat center property, so you were, who does that serve?
The heat center was a BRAC project that was to provide educational opportunities for the Aberdeen Proving Grounds. We acquired a large portion of property when 95 was assembled back in the 60s. And at that time, it was deemed necessary to provide the land to the city and the county for future development. So the HEAT Center stands for Harford County Educational, and I can't remember what the A&T stands for. I apologize.
Okay.
Hey, Lee, Member Gaines, it started in the 80s when I was in the legislature to work with Aberdeen Proving Ground and for a higher education to provide services at that point at this location.
Okay.
Well, I would
Make
think,
a motion.
okay. Member Cox made the motion.
I'll second it.
Member Gaines makes the second. So all in favor of this transfer, say aye.
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 Aye. Oh, that was Mr. Enzer, so that was everybody. So you might as well stay on and move on to the next one.
Okay, gentlemen. The next item I have on the agenda is a land swap out at Hawkins Point Road. This is the area where we're planning on building the new police academy. And it was deemed necessary that one of the adjoining owners that we condemned on to build the former virtual truck waste station, which never got constructed. We were going to do a land swap to kind of even up the boundaries and provide a little bit of setback for the police academy. If you look at the conveyance plat, we are conveying the exact amount of land. So the land swap would be of equal value and equal size. So there's no monetary loss to the Transportation Authority. Does anybody have, this is a rather simple transaction, and both allied contractors who are the adjoining property owner and the team designing the police academy are in favor of this land swap. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
I make a motion that we approve the land swap.
Okay, Member Gaines motions.
Second.
Member Enzer seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, great. We got.
Thank you,
you're off
gentlemen.
the hook.
Thank you.
Let's see, what do we got next? We have Mr. Sabellano giving us a update on the facility conditions inspection, the annual report.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and distinguished members of the board, as well as other participants of this meeting. My name is Roel E. Sabellano, the Structures Engineering Manager. To present the 2022 updates on the annual facilities inspections, I would like to introduce one of my program managers, Lillian Sidrak, the Structures Inspection Program Manager. So let me pass the floor to Lillian now so she can start presenting. Lillian, you can take it from here.
Thank you, Roel. Thank you, everyone. Glad to be here today with everyone. Today we're going to talk about, just briefly, updates on our 2022 inspections program, and like to move you through some interesting things that occurred for last year. Here's a picture of the Canton Viaduct, which we successfully inspected. As we know, our purpose is to inspect MDTA's bridges and tunnels and all assets and ensure that they're maintained in good repair and working order. Most importantly, our mission is to establish safe facilities, and we have to fulfill requirements not just by our trust agreement, but in accordance with Federal Highway and the National Transportation Institute. MDTA's trust agreement, as you know, the amended trust agreement, April 7 of 2021, ensures that independent engineers with a favorable reputation periodically inspect the transportation facilities, structures, all its assets, and ensures that it's maintained in good repair, working order, and condition. After receipt of the reports and inspections, we typically fulfill all requirements by providing reports to our trustees. 2022 inspections this past cycle incorporated hands-on inspections for all our workhorse bridges, a quadrennial or a hands-on inspection for our culverts. We incorporated risk-based inspections for our signature bridges, tunnels, high mast lights, retaining walls, underground stormwater structures, noise walls and retaining walls, camera poles, low-level lights. We did the underwater inspection at the Old Nice Bridge. We did an underwater inspection at the Tidings Bridge, and we did a visual inspection for our roadway and traffic safety features. Here's a picture of the Clayton Road Bridge. We successfully inspected that after it was released this past cycle for use and maintenance to MDTA. Typically, our job is to provide information and data as needed, and data that we typically have to provide annually. So our annual bridge and tunnel inspection data is provided to Federal Highway. We provide executive summary reports to our trustees. Asset data is provided to MDOT. Transportation Asset Management Plan goes through Federal Highway over to through MDOT SHA. We have our attainment reports, our insurance renewable costs given to multiple people and multiple organizations. Bridge load rating data, vertical clearance information, typically handed to the motor carrier divisions or Maryland One hauling programs. And other information that often comes our way that's provided, and provide that as requested. One interesting topic about last cycle was that Federal Highway decided to give us a visit last cycle and do an intermediate audit on our tunnel. Intermediate audit involves opening the books and going through 15 matrices to ensure that we are in compliance. Rather than do a cursory or a minimal audit, we had to do an intermediate audit, which is quite interesting. So a compliance audit is performed by Federal Highway, verifying that our tunnels are following the regulations, codes, our functional systems are working and accurately maintained. Team leader credentials are correct and in accordance with the national tunnel standards. And then there's audit levels. So we have an intermediate and an in-depth audit. And we had that performed on what they chose was the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel. There was a cadre that attended this past cycle. It was tunnel experts from Virginia, Pennsylvania, and our Maryland division engineer. Operations attended as well as myself. They audited metrics 11 of 15, where we opened the books and the reports. We did a field visit. We did an ACER demonstration at the FMT training room. And then the scoring system, well, just to mention real quick, metrics 1 to 11 were done on a sort of a little bit lower than the intermediate, basically providing information and ensuring that we're in compliance. Didn't require much of a in-depth review other than fulfilling their requests. So the scoring system is whether we're compliant, we're substantially compliant, non-compliant, conditionally compliant. After their field visit, which occurred basically for a whole day, and then going through the books, providing the reports, and then providing a demonstration of ACER, answering their questions, we were compliant in all metrics 1 through 15. So that felt great. Don't believe it's been done before, so that was quite a challenge.
We should probably celebrate that for a second.
Yeah,
So,
there we go.
Yeah, great.
so thank you for sharing that good news. That's awesome.
Great, thank you. The 2022 inspections, just kicking off the cycle, we always provide a training to all of our staff, especially our team leaders, and what we expect. In trying to improve the program over the past couple of years, we were also tasked with 5 additional contracts. So we were juggling 4 of the old ones that are about to expire, plus an additional 5. And the additional 5 contracts that were awarded brought in some new blood to our system, which we really needed. So we've got a great team, lots of innovation going on. We kicked off the team leader cycle at the police headquarters because we hadn't seen each other in person for a while. And we used the police headquarters, had over 100 team leaders attend, brought in experts, trained in paint. We talked about some of the emergencies that occurred over the past couple of years during the pandemic, and what to look for. What do you do in times of crises, and how to communicate. And it was a really great all-day event for all of our team leaders. We also provided what they're, how they're doing and what they can improve on. And we also talked about incorporating today's technology, which is actually well ahead of the game, and we're following that as we speak. We also hold our tri-weekly meetings, which are held every 3 weeks with the JV PMs, including our newest JV, the Trans Systems Prime WBCM JV. How did we do overall? Well, we were overall in satisfactory condition for all our workhorse bridges. Canton Viaduct and Hollibird were finished in construction, so a full hands-on was completed in this past January. Clayton Road, as I showed, was newly constructed. Full hands-on was completed in May. The typical defects were found across our bridges, which include just minor spalls and cracks, some steel corrosion. Numerous facilities have ongoing construction work. Small structures or culverts, well, we wanted to take a look at them from a resiliency point of view. So we looked at the stream flow and the conveyance of stream flow, both upstream and downstream. And we investigated the structural conditions as well as what's going on at the embankments and, any debris, residential neighborhoods nearby the areas and so forth. And how's the channel flowing overall? We did a risk-based inspection on the Tidings Bridge. As you might have known, the Tidings Bridge is undergoing a major structural steel and, super and deck and super rehab contract. That super contract is almost complete. So basically, there was some minor concrete deterioration at the bridge deck and the substructures. We had, minor corrosion at the bridge super. New bearing blocks and wind shear devices, and a new whole paint system is being completed. So it's looking good out there. I was out there on a boat watching the new climbers for this hands-on cycle. Bridge looks good. The Hayden Bridge is in overall satisfactory condition. There's some minor surface cracking on the deck. There is some moderate corrosion at the seal superstructure elements, isolated areas of cracks and spalls in the concrete. I believe this bridge is slated for a cleaning and painting contract in the future.
I do want to point out that I did my own inspection a couple Saturdays ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Of the Hayden?
I did the Susquehanna Running Festival thing.
Oh, okay.
So
What
it was
were
a
your
quick
thoughts?
inspection. I was running across it.
Yeah, I used to do that. Can't run anymore, but yeah, that is a fun one.
Did you conclude that the bridge was in good working order and condition, but not so much your running, or?
It was fantastic. It was in great condition, and my run was actually pretty good too. So no complaints.
Great,
Actually,
great to hear.
I will say that I thought the preparation for the race by our folks was awesome, because the expansion joints were covered with the rubber like a piece of carpet. It was awesome. Better than the Bay Bridge run.
Yes, we did coordinate with the police and operations to make sure all of that went smoothly for you. So I'm glad you were able to run it. I used to run it, unfortunately can't anymore. But
Will's
it's a great.
Will's running with me on the Bay Bridge one in a little over a month.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm jealous.
We just heard the stats last night. I think the cap is going to be that the race can handle is 16,000 runners, and we're approaching it. So it's going to be a good event.
Fantastic. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Can you walk it? Do you have to run it, or can you walk it?
You can walk it.
It's a run, isn't it?
Yeah, it's both.
Okay, well, I might be there.
All right.
Thank you. Key Bridge, overall satisfactory condition. There's some minor cracking and D-lam at the bridge deck. There's some local section loss at the superstructure steel elements, and there's your typical concrete deterioration at the bridge substructure. K-truss, minor spalls and cracking on the bridge, isolated corrosion, minor to moderate concrete deterioration at the bridge substructure. Let's see, the Bay Bridge, overall in satisfactory condition. A lot of things going on at the Bay Bridge. We've got numerous ongoing task orders and over 4 construction contracts that were ongoing, including the catwalk replacements. There was electrical and ITS replacements, steel and concrete repairs. Gantries were being replaced. The bridge railings were being retrofit. So we got our hands on everything we could, you know, weaving in and around the on-call contractors as well as the construction contractors. Good old nice bridge. It's in fair condition. There's moderate parapet and deck spalls throughout. We're holding it up. There were some issues with the parapet, so we tried to kind of take care of the parapet conditions out there until we move traffic over to the new bridge. There's localized scour at the main channel pier that seems to have, you know, kind of gone from a minor to a moderate condition. There's ongoing task orders right now underway as the new bridge is completing, and that construction's pretty much wrapped up. We actually did successfully complete our FY 2023 hands-on inspection for the new bridge. So we are out of the way of the contractor. Next thing we'll be doing is an underwater on the new bridge for FY 2023. So it's just a matter of time for, you know, shutting it down and moving traffic over. Harbor Tunnel, minor surface cracks with the roadway surface. There's, you know, missing or impacted ceiling tiles. Those are always being addressed. There's some concrete deterioration at the underside of the roadway and the tunnel walls. That's in the lower plenum. But new pumps and fans have been installed, and there were task orders that were ongoing at the time. The electrical system is in fair condition. That entire system, including the switch gears, are going to be replaced. Fort McHenry Tunnel, overall satisfactory. Tunnel roadways and isolated minor surface cracking. There's some missing tunnel wall tiles. Fans are operational, and that's currently going through a rehab contract. And at the same time, there were structural, mechanical, and electrical repairs ongoing, so we were trying to weave around them as we try to get to the most critical areas we needed to visit during this cycle. Sign structures and AETs. We've got lots of AETs now, so there's a lot of sign structures that we're decommissioning as we're adding new gantries, which is great overall because it makes for not inspecting the old toll plazas. So the AET gantries operate similarly to a sign structure. There's new ones all along JFK. We've got some in Cecil County, Delaware line. There's one being installed, the toll plaza over at Perryville's. pretty much demoed, and there's one being installed there. The one at Hayden's already been installed. There's new ones being installed, gantries over on the Bay Bridge and also on the east approach and the west approach of the bridges, in addition to new sign structures. Typical defects for these gantries are just some loose hardware. Sometimes we just help the contractor out while he's there. You know, hey, by the way, you know, you might want to take care of these if they happen to be there. Low-level lights and camera poles, they're all good condition. There's new LED lights over on the JFK rest areas. We're coordinating with areas right now as far as, you know, any loose hardware, who's to be, you know, tightening them and maintaining the new lights over at the rest areas. New LEDs at FSK. And the typical defects, you know, ops is always on top of these. Loose hardware, broken breakaway boxes, some poles we had to remove. High mast lights, pretty much in good condition. The majority of the Fort McHenry tunnels were replaced a couple years back. Typical defects, again, are some loose hardware, and there's some non-functional luminaires. Typically, the light rings are lowered, bulbs are replaced, things are checked out by operations or the electrical on-call. Toll plazas, as I mentioned, the AATs implemented at the Key Bridge, Bay Bridge, Hayden, and a portion of the Fort McHenry. I think that's the only one basically left with the Harbor Tunnel on the south end. Portions of that toll plaza are left, but the FMT's been removed. There's a small piece of it left that we've inspected. As I said, they're replaced at Perryville with a new gantry. Again, some loose hardware, and there's some minor spalls and some steel corrosion found at the weigh scales over on the Hayden side. Finally, our deck condition super and sub, you can see that now our ratings have gone down to 0, and we've got basically 57% of our bridges for decks are in good condition, rated a 7. Superstructures, we got 38% in good condition, and for subs, we've got 41% in good condition. None are in poor condition. Those that are in the majority of the fair condition are the bridges that are slated to be replaced on the old Baltimore Harbor Tunnel facility under the upcoming AET contract. That's basically all I had to present. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
That's
Thank
all.
you.
That was great. And thank you for the overview. That was, we're in good shape. That's the gist. We're in good shape. The only place we're not in good shape, we're replacing the bridge. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, Chairman, if I
Thank you.
could just compliment following on the compliments of Lillian and her team. You know, they manage a lot of workload. Yeah, I did that job at one point in my career, and I know that the late night phone calls and emergency response, procuring new vendors combined with getting inspections done and federal submissions, audits, all of that. It's a big lift to do every year, and I'm really happy to see the results. You know, MDTA, we have, I think nearly half of our bridges are 50 years or older, and we're at a point where we have none that are poorly rated, a, you know, significant reduction over time in how many are even fair rated, and just, you know, goes to show that our inspection efforts and preservation efforts are really paying good dividends for the agency. And just want to thank Lillian and the team and all of OEC for that. And related to the procurements of new vendors, I wanted to just provide one other comment, you know, that I think is a real strength of our program that not every agency does. And that's that, you know, Lillian had commented that we sort of benefited from having some new vendors getting involved. Well, MDTA, one of the key things that we do to ensure that we have really high quality inspections is we bring in a fresh set of eyes at each one of these major inspections. We use what the industry refers to as peer rotation, where, you know, you can, by having different companies look at the bridges over time, it ensures that, you know, you're not having one firm that's really interested in superstructure and they just always look at that in detail but miss the foundation or whatever. Like none of that happens by using this rotation process, and it's a major strength of our program. Not every agency does it because these procurements are a big lift to do, and managing multiple different vendors is you know, more challenging than some want to deal with. So it's a lot of work, and again, I just want to say hats off to the team and thank them for all of their hard work.
Lillian,
Thanks,
just
Will.
as a comment, Will was there when they built the original nice bridge, so he did that inspection.
Yeah, but just so everybody knows, Mr. Cox had to cross that same area by boat.
Oh, wow.
That was when they had the mule pulling the ferries across.
I think so.
Oh, wow.
I think
Hey, while
so.
we're talking about the nice bridge, I saw in the paper where I guess there's a bike group that's suing to
Suing.
keep the bridge in place.
Yeah.
Is anything going to come of that?
We're not going to comment on that, Member Gaines, due to the pending litigation.
Okay.
Yep,
Thank you, Lillian.
understood.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
Lillian. That
and
was
thank
great.
you, Will.
And keep up the good work. And but more importantly, pass on to your team that we're excited about what we heard and
Yeah, very good.
appreciate what they've
It's
done.
only going to get better, guys. Thank you very much.
I
Thank
like
you,
that
Will.
answer. That's a very positive answer. I like it. All right.
Thank you,
Well,
Lillian.
Okay, everyone.
now we get to hear from Jeannie about the CTP process and additions.
Good morning.
Good
Morning.
morning.
I'm Jeannie Marriott, the Capital Program Manager, and I'm here to provide the Capital Committee with an overview of the CTP process and an update on the additions to the capital program. And I'm going to be presenting that information to the board on October 27th. The fiscal year 23 to 28 final CTP to be presented for approval in November includes one new project. It's the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel Lane Use Signals Extension. The extended lane use signals are needed to provide advanced notification regarding lane usage to safely transition motorists to the newly installed gates for lane closure at the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel. And the gates and the LUS will work as a system and help with bore closures at the tunnel. And the $400,000 requested is for the preliminary engineering. Now, twice a year, in the month before I present the draft and the final CTP, I give you an overview on part of the CTP process. So I think you're familiar that we have lunch and learns that are available to our employees. We do about one a month, and there was a request to do one about the Consolidated Transportation Program. So that's what I'm going to share with you today is the lunch and learn that was presented for the employees in September. So it starts in your documents. The presentation starts on page 34. Maryland's Consolidated Transportation Program, what it means for the MDTA. And then going to the next page, the Consolidated Transportation Program is Maryland's 6-year capital budget for transportation projects. And this includes major and minor projects for the MDOT business units. There's 6 of them, and the 2 authorities, and they're listed there. And the state report on transportation has 3 parts. The Maryland Transportation Plan, which is a 20-year plan, and that's updated every 5 years. The CTP, which is a 6-year plan, updated twice per year, and the attainment report on transportation system performance, which is updated annually. And the portion, and the MDTA CTP is the portion of the state report on transportation prepared by MDTA. So it has a 6-year forecast, and the one that I'm going to be bringing to you for approval next month is the includes the fiscal year 23, which is the current budget year, fiscal year 24, the budget request year, and then there's what they call 4 successive planning years, 25 through 28. What is a capital project? It's any project in which funds are expended for construction, reconstruction, or rehabilitation of a transportation facility owned by the MDTA. And that could be real property acquisitions, site development and improvements, construction of a new facility, or renovation of an existing facility. A capital project, to qualify for capital funding, must have a life of at least 7 years and cost $100,000 or more. And the capital projects in the CTP are divided into 3 parts: construction program major projects and system preservation minor projects. Include ongoing projects and those projects which are scheduled to begin construction within the 6-year period. And then there's the development and evaluation program, which is major projects being prepared for future addition to the construction program. So when funds are available, based on the merits of the projects and as workload allows, these D&E projects are added to the construction program. And currently, we only have one D&E project, which is the Tier 2 NEPA study for the Bay Crossing. So the CTP process. Every year, the Maryland Department of Transportation issues a CTP, which is a 6-year capital budget. And the MDTA portion of the CTP is the projects related to our facilities. Now moving on to page 41. After approval by the board members in June, the draft CTP is presented as part of the MDOT CTP tour to state and local elected officials and citizens throughout the state of Maryland for review and comment. On or before April 1st, Maryland counties and Baltimore City provide priority letters to inform MDOT, including the MDTA, which transportation projects are most important to their local communities. And those letters are endorsed by county commissioners, council members, and the county executive as appropriate. During the CTP tour, the Secretary of Transportation visits each of the counties in Baltimore City to present the draft CTP. And it's important that these meetings provide the local legislators and the public an opportunity to communicate their priorities and concerns in person. Representatives from each of the MDOT business units are also available to answer questions at the tour meetings. Then the CTP is revised and submitted for board approval in November as the final CTP. And this is part of the governor's budget presented to the Maryland General Assembly in January. And this entire process is required by statute and applies to MDTA as well as the other MDOT business units. So on page 43, there's a CTP development timeline. We see that we start out, and so we follow the same timeline every year. The MDTA starts out by identifying needs in February and March, and then by April, we hope to prioritize the needs. Then we develop the draft CTP and take it to the board and, well, to the committees and the board for approval in June. And then the draft CTP is published usually around the 1st of July. And then we begin developing the final CTP and present that in November. And during this time, there are pre-tour visits and that we participate in. And then, of course, the secretary visits each one of the counties in Baltimore City. And then we submit the final CTP to TSO, and the final CTP is published on the MDOT website in January. So new projects come from 5 sources: long-range capital needs, inspection findings, regulatory compliance, increased capacity needs, and local priority letters and legislative requests. So the long-range capital needs are the planned rehabilitation or replacement based on life cycle, annual review of facility components' useful life, helps us to estimate the costs, establish priorities, and determine timelines. So the useful life of a facility or material such as pavement or paint can't be an exact expiration, but gives an idea of when the authority needs to begin planning to address it. And involved in this process of putting together the long-range capital needs, of course, we don't do it by ourselves in the capital programming department. The Office of Engineering and Construction actually leads the development of the long-range capital needs. Operations is invited to give their ideas of what they would like to have in the program. And then, of course, Jennifer and I are involved. The MDTA police are also given a chance to give their requests, and also information, the Department of Information Technology. And then inspection findings are a very important part of setting the priorities. And since we just heard a lot about the inspections, I will only mention that the on-call contracts are a critical part of the program approach to system preservation. They enable inspection results to be addressed with smaller scale repairs that can prevent a facility or component from degrading to the point of needing replacement via a large, more expensive design bid build project. And then, of course, there's other new project considerations, the other three that I had mentioned. Excuse me. And moving on to page 48, there are 4 funding phases: the planning phase, the engineering phase, right-of-way, and construction. And we have project information forms because the Maryland Transportation Code requires that the CTP include a report that identifies each major capital project. And so there's specified information that must be included in these reports: the amount of funds in the 6-year period, the total estimated cost of the project, explanation of significant changes in cost, scope, design, or schedule, and a purpose and need summary statement that includes a general description why the project is necessary, how it satisfies state goals, and a location. So all of this information is provided on a project information form, which is part of what's published. So on page 50, we see when you go to the MDOT website, or if you're lucky enough to have one of the printed copies, this is the cover page for the draft this year. And then pretty far back in there, I think it's page 470, the Maryland Transportation Authority page appears. And then after our cover page there on your page 52, there's a summary of the budget for the 6 years. And if you look in the lower right corner, you can see that the 6-year budget, draft CTP budget, is $2.6 billion. So then the next couple pages are just some examples of the PIFs. The first one is the ETL Northern Extension. And you can see there's a pretty good description about what's going on here. So hopefully the public's questions are answered by this, but of course, we're also available to answer additional questions. But this satisfies the statute saying what must be provided. And the next one is the structural rehabilitation of the Tidings Bridge. And this is the first time that this one is appearing in the construction program that was just added. The Fort McHenry Tunnel conversion to cashless tolling is underway. And then we were happy to get a picture that we could use of what it's going to look like when the toll booths are gone. So that was nice to have that in there. And then, of course, the replacement of the nice Middleton Bridge. And then our 1 D&E program item is the Chesapeake Bay Crossing study that I mentioned before. And then at the end of the PIFs, there's a 2-page report. And what I'm showing here on page 58 is the second page of the miners project program. And these aren't required to have as much information shared. So we just have a little description, what the status is, and the total cost of the program. Now, financing the capital program, MDTA uses toll revenues. The other MDOT agencies use the Transportation Trust Fund, which is motor fuel taxes, vehicle titling taxes, transit fares, and a lot of other sources. So I just want to stress that we are not part of that we just use the toll revenues. Funding availability is based on the MDTA's 6-year financial forecast, estimates of traffic revenue, operating and capital budget, debt service payments, potential need for future bond sales and toll increases, compliance with financial standards. And only those projects that the MDTA can afford to complete are included in the CTP. Now, on page 60 is an overview of the capital management and programming system. And this is the software that we've only been using for about 2 years, that was developed over a long period of time to specifically meet the needs of MDOT. And of course, we're included in that. Even though we don't share the same funds, we're included in the reporting activities. So this software helps us keep track of the budgets, the invoices. There's a upload every night from the finance department of what was paid that day, and it's shown on the screens. Now, in the presentation to the employees, I had a couple of examples of the pages or the screens that are in CMAPs, but because it had budget information, and that really shouldn't be put out to the public until after procurement's done, I didn't include that part with this one. So then moving on to page 61, there are changes that require approval of the authority board. Additions or deletions of major or minor projects, changes in the estimated cost, changes in the scope, changes in the scheduled fiscal year start, changes to the program levels of expenditure for non-construction phases of major projects, and changes in the program levels of expenditures for minor projects. So you're quite familiar with of what I bring to you every year to ask for your approval. And so all those changes are documented in a memo, CTP comparison tables, changes, report, and 2 pie charts, where are the projects and what are the categories of projects. So we won't spend a lot of time on these. I just included them so that the employees that don't work in this department could see what we use to show you those changes and ask for your approval. So if we go on to page 70, just give you a summary. It's the responsibility of the Division of Planning and Program Development to develop and continuously assess the short and long-term capital planning and programming needs that will assure the safe and efficient movement of people and goods traveling through the facilities owned, operated, and financed by the MDTA. So I can't imagine that you have any questions.
Hey, do you want to take a breath first?
Yeah. Thanks, Jeannie. Thanks for the update as always.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a lot
And
there.
I think, yeah, we wanted the other, I mean, there were really other people in the organization that were saying, well, just what do those capital programming people do? So
Yeah,
we
So,
told them.
out of curiosity, when you gave this presentation, what kind of questions did you get asked?
Well, there was one question. How do you keep track of all these things that are scheduled every single year? How do you keep track of when they're due and how do you meet all those deadlines? And I am proud to report that MDTA does meet the deadlines. But we start with a schedule that's given to us from TSO, and then I just work back from there. And as it works out, the schedules of when things are due to them work out that we present to you in November and June. And then I work back from that to see when do we have to have the materials ready for the committee and board meetings. And then sometimes there's a meeting with the secretary thrown in there, but it's just like everybody else does to keep track of things. We keep a pretty good calendar. So that was one of the questions that was asked. I don't think I can remember any of the other ones right now.
I'm just curious what for some of these folks seeing it for the first time, what their perspective was.
Yeah, there were I think there were only 3 or 4 questions. That's Mary asked the one that I mentioned.
Gotcha. Just wanted to put you on the spot.
Sorry. I'm sure
That's
Jennifer,
okay.
who's sitting in the next room, can remember all of them, but I don't think she's like
Yeah, it's
signed
okay.
into
No, it's
this.
okay.
She's
It's all
just
good.
watching.
No. So again, thank you for the overview. And yeah, I think we all know it's quite a bit of work, and we also know that the road show makes for some fun theater as well when you're going to the different counties and they want to, add their wish list in that nobody can afford. so we appreciate the folks to go through that. So, well, thank you. Does anybody have any questions
You're
for
welcome.
Jeannie? It
I'll
looks
just
like you're off.
comment, Chairman, just that, in terms of the counties, one of the things that we've kind of prided ourselves on is being able to really help wherever we can support county priorities, and we have a very balanced CTP that has work at every one of our facilities, lots of system preservation focus as Jeannie mentioned, but the counties, as part of the CTP process, they put out their priority letters, and you look at things like our Bay Crossing study, Tier 2 NEPA, that was one of the top priorities for several of the counties. So, we do our best to try to check the boxes to give each of the counties, delivering on their priorities and make that a big focus of the CTP. So, like you said, there are limitations on funding, and we wish that that we could do more all the time. That's always there, but you look at Lillian's presentation and see the state of our infrastructure in terms of conditions and everything, and I think we do a really good job and try to keep the county's focus in there as well. Harford County, when I attended that, one of their key priorities was to extend Maryland 24 up through, going northbound to have 3 lanes there. We've got a project in the ETL program to do that. So, the list of Belvedere Road, delivering on a Cecil County project. The MDTA checks the box on delivering a lot of the county's key priorities. So just wanted to make sure that the board had that reassurance as well.
Appreciate
Very
that.
good.
Well, awesome. So much good information today, and appreciate the time of everybody. Anybody have any further comments? Or I think from reading Mr. Cox's
Make a motion, we
lips, he
adjourn.
said I need to
Chair.
adjourn, but he was muted. All right.
I'll second.
So second, was that you, Mr. Gaines? Mr.
Yes.
Gaines, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Everybody have
Have a good one.
a safe rest of the week, safe weekend, and we'll see you then
Have a good one.
Couple weeks.
next meeting.
Thanks, everybody.
We already